Back up on CBS Sports HQ, where the Aaron Rodgers saga continues to unfold with the kind of unpredictability that has defined his career over the last 2 years. At 41 years old, the four-time MVP remains an enigma, weighing his next move in near seclusion, while the football world speculates. The list of potential landing spots appears to be narrowing as time passes. But Rodgers, as always, seems content to let the suspense build. Cryptic images of reflective walks along Sunset Beach and murmurs that he may wait until after draft to make a decision only add to the mystery. Pittsburgh remains in the conversation, but not everyone in the Steelers' locker room is on board. Longtime defensive leader Cam Hayward, speaking on the Not Just Football podcast, was blunt in his assessment, stating, "I'm doing that darkness retreat. I don't need any of that crap. Either you want to be a Steeler or you don't. It's simple." That's the pitch. For more insight, CBS draft expert Ryan Wilson and two-time Super Bowl champion Brian McFadden join the discussion. McFadden, a proud member of the Steelers fraternity, laid out the case for why Pittsburgh makes the most sense for Rodgers. The Steelers are a winning organization, plain and simple, McFadden said. Yes, postseason success has eluded them in recent years, but they find ways to stay relevant and get into playoff position. If you're Aaron Rodgers, in the twilight of your career, you want to go out with shot at success. McFadden also pointed to supporting cast, highlighting George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, and the rumored addition of DK Metcalf. You already have weapons, and you still have the draft to add more, he emphasized. And then there's the mutual respect between Rodgers and Mike Tomlin. That's been evident for years. There's a football bromance there. Who wouldn't want to be a part of a franchise with legacy, tradition, and prestige? Wilson, however, was less convinced. While acknowledging the logic in the Steelers-Rodgers marriage, he questioned whether Rodgers is truly invested. That so-called mutual respect? It feels like asking someone to prom and waiting 3 months for an answer, long after the dance has already happened, Wilson quipped. Meanwhile, Rodgers is wrapped up on the beach looking as relaxed as ever. But the clock is ticking. Wilson suggested another viable option, Minnesota. Think about it. That team won 13 games just a year ago with Kirk Cousins. Now, with a solid receiving core, a strong defense under Brian Flores, and Kevin O'Connell at the helm, why wouldn't Rodgers be intrigued? He's always in control over his situation, and he wouldn't have to answer to O'Connell the way he would to Tomlin. It's a different kind of pressure. The NFC North connection also plays a role. Rodgers would re-enter a division that has changed significantly since his departure, with Detroit emerging as a powerhouse and Chicago still a familiar adversary, the team he famously claimed to own. While Pittsburgh offers stability, Minnesota presents a compelling challenge, one that Rodgers might find more appealing as he eyes the final chapter of his career. Beyond Rodgers, the quarterback carousel continues to spin, with Russell Wilson's future also in flux. Wilson's time in Denver ended unceremoniously, but his next stop remained a hot topic. Despite speculation that he could return to Pittsburgh, McFadden sees a different destination. If the Steelers really wanted him back, they wouldn't be entertaining other options, he said. The New York Giants, on the other hand, are actively looking for stability at quarterback. They need a bridge guy, and Wilson can provide that. Wilson's tenure in Denver was a roller coaster, but at his best, he showed flashes of the player who led Seattle to a Super Bowl title. If the Giants view him as a temporary solution while grooming a future franchise quarterback, the fit makes sense. New York gives him a stage, a fresh start, and the opportunity to be relevant in a division that remains competitive, Wilson noted. And let's not forget, his wife, Sierra, might enjoy the bright lights of the Big Apple as well. As for Jameis Winston, the former number 1 overall pick remains an intriguing option for teams looking for an experienced backup with upside. McFadden believes Minnesota is the ideal landing spot. They need an insurance policy for J.J. McCarthy or whoever they bring in as their young quarterback, he explained. Kevin O'Connell has worked wonders with quarterbacks who don't have half the talent or confidence that Jameis has. If you put Winston in that system, he can be an asset, whether as a backup or stepping in as a starter if needed. Wilson, however, sees a different scenario unfolding. I want you to keep that same energy when Jameis ends up in Pittsburgh, he joked. If Rodgers goes to Minnesota and Russ picks New York, the Steelers might be left scrambling. And let's be honest, no one saw Kenny Pickett ending up in Cleveland just a few years after he was drafted by Pittsburgh. Things change fast. Ultimately, the quarterback market remains fluid, with Rodgers holding the key to multiple domino effects across the league. His decision will dictate not only where he lands, but also where Wilson, Winston, and other quarterbacks find themselves. In Pittsburgh, in Minnesota, or somewhere entirely unexpected, Rodgers' next move will have massive implications. The quickest way for him to earn respect at this stage? Make a decision. Until then, the speculation continues.